What a great opening line.
We met on Tinder. There's gems out there, but you really have to search them out. He had that main character energy. This guy looks like a lot of fun. You look like a bucket of fun. And you're a stunning human being. I'm going to take her on a swimming date, see what she really looks like. That's how you view women's makeup. And you think it's just this mask to fool you. You're probably not the guy for me. Forrest Gump, running down the highway. I think I'm going to stop now. You can't get out of bed. You isolate. You don't want to talk to other people, feel like a burden. Meanwhile, your brain is telling you terrible things that I would wake up in the morning. I'd be like, oh, it didn't happen.
Welcome back to the First Rounds on Me podcast, brought to you by the dating app that connects you from scene to screen, First Rounds on Me. I'm Joe Feminel with my beautiful wife, Hannah, and we're the hosts of today's conversation. Who do we have on the show today, babe?
My darling, I'm going to have a little assistance from you here. But today we have Sarah
Redzikowski.
Thank you so much. For some reason, I can't say last names today. Sarah is a brilliant and talented pro makeup artist, working within the editorial, commercial, advertising, and celebrity world for years now, and is widely known, I know this from personal experience, for making people feel so beautiful inside and out once they've sat in her chair. Sarah is also a dedicated mental health advocate who uses her social media platforms to share her personal journey with the masses. We'll be diving into her opinions on the most interesting aspects of the beauty world, get her best beauty tips for our community of daters, explore her mental health journey, and understand why she's so passionate about sharing her story with the world, while also getting the details of her most recent engagement and test how well she truly knows herself. Sarah, babe, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm so glad that you asked me to be here. I just think that these are great topics that definitely need attention, and obviously my engagement, everybody needs to know about that.
Everybody needs to.
But mental health, obviously, and talking about the beauty industry, which has been a passion of mine for so long.
Okay, well, speaking of, how did you first get started as a makeup artist and kind of work into the beauty industry?
So I actually started because I went to a hair school, cosmetology school, which is commonly people go to cosmetology school to do hair. And that's why I enrolled. And as I was going through the program, I think it was 1,800 hours at the time, I was doing people's hair. Where you go on the floor, you start cutting hair, coloring hair. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I hate doing this. I do not like doing hair. It is it's not permanent, but it is permanent. You know, when you cut somebody's hair, it can be very damaging to them if you mess it up.
Oh,
and of course, you're in beauty school. You don't know what you're doing quite yet. So I was like, this is not for me. People hate what I'm doing. I can't do this. Well, I luckily met a makeup artist while I was in the program, and I told her, gosh, I really love makeup. I've loved makeup since I was a little girl. My mom would buy makeup products from Avon and Mary Kay, and I was so obsessed with going through the catalog and seeing if she would buy me anything. And she was like, you should do makeup on some models or some friends, take some pictures. Next time I'm in town, bring me the photos and we'll see how you're doing. So next time she was in town, I brought her photos, and I was very dedicated to I'm going to do this. And she was like, wow, you've done a great job. We're going to hire you for our next hair show, because she worked for Paul Mitchell, which is the school I went to.
Yep.
And I don't even remember what I was getting paid. It was a very measly amount, but I was so chuffed. And I didn't touch a makeup brush that entire show. My job was to find the models, check off if they'd had eyelashes put on, if they had blush on, if they had lips on, and because hairstylists are coming and pulling these models from the chair. And after that, I was like, I am going to become a makeup artist, and that set me on my journey.
Okay,
Wow.
I remember those days where I just get pulled in between hair and makeup chairs, and there was always this beautiful person being like, do you have everything done? As you're going to
Did you say 1,800 hours of hair?
Yeah. So the 1,800 hours, yes, it covers hairstyling, but it also covers skin, nails, and a little bit of makeup. But the main focus really is hair.
So it would be a different school when you went to do makeup.
So I did do some training programs to increase my abilities, I guess you can say. There were different boot camps I signed up for, and I would sign up for any classes that I could. I remember at the time I was even driving to LA for some of these classes, because at the time I lived in Vegas, and there's just so many more talented makeup artists here, and they're doing classes and educational seminars and the makeup show, and so I was constantly coming out here for those.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I love that so much. All right, so So how long ago was that? How long have you been in makeup artist now?
So I started beauty school in 2011. So it's been about 13 years now.
That's my lucky number. What are some of your best memories on set?
Oh gosh.
Too many to choose from.
There's so many. I think some of my best memories have definitely been on some fashion shoots where we got to go to some really incredible locations. There was a commercial I was doing for a company where we traveled to different incredible locations throughout the United States. So we did New York, Nashville. We did somewhere in Arizona, Utah, like border down there. And you know the road when Forrest Gump this is going to seem very random, but you know when Forrest Gump is running down the highway and he's like, I think I'm going to stop now.
Yeah.
And he's stopped in the middle of the highway. It's when he's running. We went to that location and we shot there as well.
Why? Because of him?
Yeah, and it's just like there's
Where is it?
Iconic.
Like yeah, it's somewhere in Arizona, Utah. I'm not going to remember the name of it, but I think some of those places were just so beautiful and so iconic, and being able to just have those moments. I've been on a train in Colorado going next to the river. Just so many beautiful, beautiful spots that I've been able to visit thanks to my career.
That's awesome. What about? I don't know if you have this question, but I'm going to jump the gun.
Do it.
Who's the coolest person that you personally worked with that you were like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing their makeup?
I think it was Kate Upton.
Wow. Okay.
I did her makeup a couple times in Vegas, and I remember that she was just this trailblazer when it came to being on the cover of Sports Illustrated and being a Sports Illustrated swimwear model. And she was really advocating for women of all sizes to really enter the fashion industry. And it was just such an honor to work with her. She was so beautiful. She was just dating her now husband.
Aww.
And at one point he had bent down and his pants ripped. And so I ended up sewing his pants.
Really?
Just before they were leaving. I was sewing his pants before they left because I happened to have a little sewing kit in my makeup kit. And so, yeah, that was, I just think she's such a beautiful person. She's so kind. She's so attentive. She just was really engaging. And yeah, it was really incredible.
I actually always forget about them as one of my favorite couples because her husband's Justin Verlander. Do you know who that is?
No.
He's a really, really, really great baseball pitcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like 41 now and he's still pitching. And he did an article a couple of years ago where he, like, usually you retire at late 30s.
Yeah.
And he was just still good. And he's like, you know, she supports me. And she's like, just keep going until you can't do it anymore. And, you know, she's obviously had her own career, but they kind of just let him do his thing. And it's so nice.
It's a mark of a good partner is just encouraging, you know, your spouse or your partner in general to be able to do what they love as long as it's not detrimental to them, because I can't imagine these poor bloody rotator cuffs
And they have to move all the time. Like,
Yeah.
he was in
it is
New
what it
York,
is.
back to Houston. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've just made a really beautiful couple, and it's been really fun to see their relationship bloom over the years, for sure.
nice. That's cool.
What is one piece of a kind of wisdom that you've gained over the years that you could probably give to other makeup artists or creatives in general that you think is kind of like key for success?
I think saying yes to just about anything you can, and that's obviously within reason, but my career was really built on the fact that I said yes to so many projects and working with different people that those people will then turn around and refer me for work. And I think also it's just important when you are a creative to really just always have your hands in it and always be like in the thick of it, you know, to constantly like have your hands dirty, have your brushes dirty, and really just be in it and be enveloped in it, because I think as a creative, that's what you really need to feed your soul.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of wisdom, I think you got a couple of questions for Sarah.
Yeah. So I just started reviewing the podcast before we came on. And when I saw this one, I was like, oh, there's so many things I want to talk about, especially makeup and dating. Because I feel like a lot of our listeners now come to us to like actually learn things. And I feel like makeup and how you do that on a date there's so many complexities to it, right? Like it's for you, it's for the date, it's what kind of date.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on some of that. So what would be some makeup tips for a coffee date, a casual date, or a super romantic date? And how as a woman are you like, okay, this is going to be romantic, I'm going to differentiate this between a coffee date?
Yeah. I think I think keeping your makeup as true to who you are. I think makeup is a very individual thing. And some people really prefer a really heavy liner or a big lash, or their signature is like a red lip. And I think with any date that you're on, to keep that in mind, that what's true to you, and not really like try anything that's outside of your normal box, because I think that's where the danger comes in. I think if you never wear a smoky eye and you're suddenly like, I'm going on this romantic date, I want to do a smoky eye, it's probably not going to go well. I'm just saying this, from experience as well. I think that you have to stay within your comfort zone and what you feel like looks the best on you. And I think there's been a lot of this discourse between men and women, like saying like, I'm going to take her on a swimming date and see what she really looks like. And it's like, if that's the kind of person that you are, and that's how you view women's makeup and how their individuality and how they express themselves, and you think it's just this mask to fool you, you're probably not the guy for me, and probably not the guy for many, many people out there.
Yeah, because there's this psychology of makeup, right? And obviously it's vastly different for men and women, but like I think, and you could speak to this a lot heavier than I can, but like women for the most part wear makeup for themselves. It's not for anybody else. Like we're doing it, like Joe sometimes says to me, he's like, why are you making me look so beautiful without makeup? I'm like, I really appreciate that. That's gorgeous. And it makes me really happy that my husband loves just the way that I look.
Yeah.
But I put makeup on because it makes me feel like it accentuates the areas which I want to accentuate, and it makes me feel a little bit more confident. Whereas I think men tend to think that they like a lot more of a natural train of makeup.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Yeah. I think that a lot of men would say that they prefer this like more natural look. And I'm speaking off the cuff here. I really don't know. I'm not a man. I don't know for sure. But I feel like I've seen some TikTok videos lately, and they'll rate women's makeup, and it's like all the natural looks are up at the top. So I just think that like whatever is true to you, and I think that if you're differentiating between a coffee date, a lunch date, or or a casual or a dinner, a romantic dinner, I think that you just have to stay true to what you feel best in, because I think then you're going to be putting your best foot forward in terms of your confidence. A lot of women wear makeup, it is for themselves. It is because it makes us feel more confident. It makes us feel more put together. It hides some of our perceived flaws. And yeah, I think that, whatever you feel best in is what you should embrace.
That was
Love
beautifully
that.
said.
And when it comes to your makeup, I only say things because you're unhappy with the way you do it. So it makes you feel worse.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I'm not very good at it.
because people like you have done such a great job with her whole career. Now she tries to do it. And I personally don't care what she does. I'm like, you look beautiful to me all the time. But she'll come out and be like, oh my God. And like her makeup's all over the place and she's stressing. I'm like, just do less. Like you're doing too much.
I really think it's such a, not an oxymoron, it's not the word, but it was like such an ass backwards way of doing things where I spent so many of my years being perfected by beautiful humans like you know what I mean? And I saw this version of myself, and then I started to try to do it to myself, and I was like, it doesn't look the same as it did back then. But then again, I'm also comparing it to like completely altered Photoshop versions of me as well.
You got really good at it. Like I think it looks
I'm
great.
getting better. Thanks, babe.
Yeah.
Definitely
Your makeup's
better.
beautiful.
I appreciate
I mean,
you.
you're a stunning human being. So
High praise.
But do you think that, and this is the guy in me speaking, and you could say, I'm an idiot guy, just shut up, and I'll be like, okay,
you
fine.
can say that.
Do you think there is going too far? Because I totally agree, right? Who is a guy to say like, oh, I'm going to take her swimming to see how she really looks? I think that's ridiculous. But what if you're not, what if you look very different than you do without makeup, and like you take it to the extreme?
then if that is how you prefer your makeup and that's how you want to be perceived to the world, I don't think there's anything as too much.
Okay.
I think that makeup, again, is something that makes us feel confident. It can be like relaxing as well. Like doing my makeup is this relaxing, like self-care moment. And I don't think I'm not anyone to say that you're doing too much. I would never say that to somebody. And I think that whatever you feel comfortable in and makes you feel your best should be embraced. And I think we have to have a little bit more kindness around that as well.
Nice. I love that.
Agreed.
Dream project or campaign? who would it be and who's the ideal collaborator?
Oh gosh.
It's a heavy hitter.
It is. I think that is a heavy hitter at the moment because I've been a freelance artist for 13 years now, and I'm starting to reach a point where I want more stability, and I'm a bit sick of the freelance life, if I can say that much. It's been a blessing. My career has been so incredible, and I've been so grateful to work with so many wonderful clients that I appreciate and I love and I'll treasure forever. But honestly, my dream client at this point is a makeup company and being an educator.
Oh.
I really want to kind of give back to the industry and really help a brand thrive. Towards the last handful of years of my career, I've been doing a lot of beauty shoots, and I'm working with a lot of new products as they come out, and I'm helping these companies kind of run how does this work best? With what products does this play the best? Is this product going to do well on market? I'm being asked these questions as a freelancer, and now I want to work for a company behind the scenes, really bringing these products to market and educating consumers on how to use it and how to embrace this new technology and these advancements that are happening in the makeup industry.
Nice. I love that.
so much.
You touched on this one. We're going to ask it again.
Yeah.
Should you wear makeup for yourself or cater to what a partner likes? And I only say this, again, as a married couple, where at the end of the day, she could do whatever she wants, and I think she's beautiful. But then she does ask me, what do you like? And I'm like, okay, I'll tell you if you want that. Should it always be what the person wants, or is it okay to kind of change it up a little bit?
I think that once you're in a relationship and you've gotten into this, stability and you ask your partner, hey, you've seen my makeup many times. What do you like? What do you like? A red lip? Do you like more wing liner? Do you like a smoky eye? And I think that's so nice. I've had partners hire me to come in and do their partner's makeup because they're she really I really love a smoky eye on her, and she can't do it that well. And she had a makeup artist one time 5 years ago that did this makeup, and so they'll hire me to recreate that look that maybe the person isn't as capable of doing on themselves. I think that's a beautiful thing to ask your partner. But I think in the beginning, when you're just getting to know each other, I think that can be a bit of a sensitive topic. And I don't think that any person that you're dating should be able to be this is how I like your makeup, and you feel that pressure to suddenly change yourself.
Oh, I totally agree. Yeah, I feel like you shouldn't voice any of that until you're in a really, really stable relationship.
Yeah, I think makeup is very personal, and yeah, it's one of those things that with a lot of people, I think should be approached very lightly.
Yeah, well, I think because when you're in a stable, committed relationship, it doesn't come from a place of almost domineering or control,
or criticism.
Right? Exactly. It comes from a place of we're sharing this life and we see each other every day. And to your point, you've seen me in all different facets. Is there something that you prefer? And if so, then perhaps I'll lean into that sometimes because then I know that you enjoy that. And it's reciprocal joy.
Yeah,
which is always
absolutely.
Really
and
lovely.
It's something special. It's a special occasion or something you're doing for your partner. But ultimately, I do think that makeup should be a very personal thing.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. All right. Now let's picture somebody is a novice just starting off in the makeup game. And they're going on a first date and they're like, Sarah, if I could focus on one thing, my eyes, my lips, my cheeks,
Skin.
what should I really focus on to make a good first impression?
Oh, goodness. I really think a good coat of mascara and curling your lashes can do so much because I think the eyes are one of the first things we look at when we meet somebody. I don't know the actual science of it. I think it's one of the first things. And I think that just bringing that attention to the eyes is just something that really opens you up and just makes you a little bit more approachable. But that would be my first choice personally. But for other people, it really might be different. They might have a little bit of breakouts going on. They'd be like, no, skin is absolutely the first thing I should focus on. So it's going to be a little bit different. But personally, I would say eyes.
I love that too because I feel like the eyes is the only physical thing that a guy could comment on where it's like, oh, thank you. You know, if a guy says to you like, oh, you have really nice eyes,
Yeah.
I feel like it's just so sweet.
I feel like it's not hypersexualized, and perhaps the other way that like other facial features or body parts
Or
are.
anybody. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
absolutely are
and I
right,
think
yeah.
it's really. They say they're the windows of the soul, but they also say that they're the nipples of the face. It makes me laugh whenever I hear that. In saying that, we're going to switch gears a little bit. We're gonna go into mental health and your journey with it, because I've been following you since the day that we worked with each other, and I think it was a couple of years ago that you started to really share about your own struggles and journey with it, but then also doling out just like so much beautiful advice to the masses on social media, which I feel in today's day and age doesn't happen a lot. We see a lot of negativity on social media, and you were there so raw, so open, so honest, and yet so encouraging and so inspiring to so many. So I want to know, if you feel comfortable, can you describe the moment or event that made you decide to openly discuss your struggles with mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that I've struggled with some form of depression my entire life, but it wasn't till the pandemic that it really took a toll on me. I think that the isolation, me not being able to work and pursue like my passion and my career, I think really hit very hard, and it triggered a very deep depression at that time. And so as a couple of years had gone by, I think maybe it was 2022 is probably when I shared that I was first struggling. And I was in a very deep, dark place, and I wasn't working a lot. My career really took a toll after COVID. It was 2022, and I had been really struggling with depression ever since the pandemic. And I had finally just hit a point that I was probably at my very worst. I was very thin. I wasn't eating. I was struggling with sleep. Even when I slept, I was having bad dreams. I wasn't working a lot, so I wasn't like doing something that made me feel productive and bringing in income and things like that. And I just had the thought that I'm going to share this. I never really had the thought of like, how can this impact my career or what are people going to think of me? I just thought to myself, I'm going to share this because this is how I'm feeling and this is where I am at right now. And it's not good. And I need to be open about that. And so that's what really triggered that first post. And recently I was actually going back through my Instagram because I am applying for jobs now. And, I'm hoping for this corporate position. And so I'm going back through my Instagram, like, is there anything I should take down? And I actually came across that post and I thought to myself for a while if I should take it down. And ultimately it's still up because I do think that was such a turning point in my life and my mental health journey as well.
100%. I think the fact that, like I said earlier, like I remember seeing that post and just being floored with how raw and open it was. And I very rarely saw anything across social media like that. And I think it touched me. It must have touched so many other people. So how did sharing your experiences on social media kind of impact your own mental health?
I think that it's helped because part of with depression, you have a tendency to isolate and you don't, and for me especially, and probably for many others, you don't communicate. You're not talking about how you feel because it feels like it's heavy. It feels like a burden to share with others. You don't want to bring everyone else down. And I also, I had been a very high functioning depressed person for many years with a great career on the outside. But for me to share this felt very vulnerable and it felt liberating. It felt like, wow, I've gotten this weight off of my chest. It's out there. Mm-hmm. Like people know that I'm not in a good place and that's okay. I think that it was literally a weight off of my chest knowing that other people knew how I felt.
Mm. Did you ever think to yourself, I mean, obviously it is for the self. It's like putting that out there and being able to share that, like you said, that weight lifted off. But do you ever sit there and think to yourself, like, how many people I wonder are reading or watching this and feeling confident in the ability to be able to speak their own truth with it?
Absolutely. I think that somebody told me, I was actually my manager, I believe, told me, she's like, when there's 1,000 likes on a post and you are like beating yourself up over it and it's only 1,000, she's like, think of those 1,000 people in a room with you. And I think that, sometimes there might be 20 comments on a post. Sometimes there's 150 comments. If I had to be in a room with those 20 people or those 150 people or that 1,000 people, it would be very moving and it would be incredible. And so I have to remind myself that that's how many people I'm reaching. And I do get messages pretty much on a daily basis, whether it's on Instagram or TikTok, that people have seen my story, seen what I've gone through, and it's helping them get to a better place or helping them get help. And I will never take for granted the impact that I can have doing that.
Oh, Sarah, I think it's so funny that you say it, because I say that quite often. I say that to Joe and I say that to a lot of people around me. I'm like, and I think it helps us humanize social media. When we go like 1,000 people, if you were surrounded by 1,000 people, it would be overwhelming and magnetic and just like so beautiful.
Yeah.
But we translate a lot of what's in social media, because it's so digital, it's purely digital, to a numbers game. Versus these are actual living, breathing human beings behind the screen.
Absolutely. And I think that if only all of us could remember the impact that we're having on living human beings. I think we're very caught up in this influencer culture at the moment, where we feel like influencers don't really care, whether we spend their dollar, they just want that. They just want us to spend their money on the products they're pushing through their links and things like that. And I think as influencers, we have to remember that we have a really strong responsibility to the living, breathing human beings that we are sharing our content with and our links and everything else.
We just had this wonderful woman on earlier, Liz Besler, and she has a podcast where her aim is to pull back the shroudedness of social media, basically. And she has all of these influencers come on, big and small, and she talks about the reality of life versus what they share on social media.
Yeah.
And I think that, like what you just said, it really connects. You do, in a way, have this responsibility to show not just this perfected, gilded version of your life. You have almost a responsibility to show the deep, dark depths of it, obviously to your own comfortability, because you never want anyone to go outside their comfort zone. But I just find it so fascinating that there's more and more people like yourself and like Liz who are pushing the boundaries to ensure the fact that people realize that you're so much more multidimensional than just what you see on the screen.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I think in regards to the video, like, I don't know if you care if you want to keep it up or not when it comes to getting a job. As somebody who does hiring, I think it's powerful to have that up there, because I think being vulnerable is such a powerful skill that a lot of people don't have. And when I see I'm talking to somebody, I know what I'm getting, and I know this is the real them, and I know like if something's wrong, they're confident enough to be vulnerable and say like, hey, personally I'm dealing with something, work-wise I'm dealing with something, and it like makes it easier for me to trust them. And I think being vulnerable in today's world shows like such a sign of confidence, and I'm just a big advocate for it.
It's a superpower.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I didn't think of it in that sense. I'm probably thinking of these like blank faces behind desks that are doing the hiring that I have no idea. But I think that hopefully me being open with my journey, and it's so important what I've created and what I've done so far. And I would never want to take that away just to get a job. I mean, obviously having a job is great, and I would really appreciate if anybody hires me in the near future.
Putting out to the universe.
Yes, putting that out. But I would never want to take away what I've done up until this point.
Yeah, I actually just did a post on LinkedIn about how the business world has changed from the 90s and the 2000s. It was you're an employee, you're a number, and like companies just really care about their money. And now we're seeing a shift where these companies are more like families, especially startups.
Yeah.
And it's like the only way for the startup or new company to really flourish is if everybody works together as a family. And I think it's more humanizing business, which I really like.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I agree. What strategies do you use in your day-to-day life to kind of manage your mental health?
I think sleep is one of the biggest ones for me. I think that going to bed at a decent hour, giving yourself plenty of sleep is going to be so key. It's really been shown that a lack of sleep or disrupted sleep can really lead to mental health struggles. So that's one of the most important things for me. I always think of myself as a night owl, but I have to like really turn that around and make sure that I'm going to bed by 10 or 11 at the very latest. Otherwise, I do feel like it impacts my, my energy levels, my anxiety, and things like that. On top of that, I've also started working out more recently, and I do think that it's had a really positive impact on my mental health and just keeping me in check and knowing that I have a space where I can go and just like kind of like meditative, just kind of get all that energy out and then really start my day. Obviously, eating is a huge aspect of it as well, making sure that I'm eating meals that, because in my deepest depression, I really wasn't eating. I would be forced to eat some rice and seaweed by my fiance, my boyfriend at the time. He would be like, you have to at least eat some rice. And that would be my one meal of the day because I was so depressed that nothing tasted good. Nothing was appealing to me, and I had no desire to eat. So now I really focus on having really good meals. Also eating with my fiance, I think is really important for me. I think it's kind of our bonding. Food is so important to his soul, and he's a very self-declared foodie. And so I think us having meals together is really an important part of my mental health because that is our time to really like enjoy the food, talk about what we're eating. If it's something that's Korean, because my fiance is Korean, he loves seeing me enjoy that as well. So I think, those things overall are really important, as well as just keeping open communication when I'm not feeling well. But just keeping it up is definitely sleep, exercise, eating, those things.
Well, I think it's like when you're going through the real depths of it, and like depression is pretty much one of these things that never goes away. It's just about the things that you implement into your life. And Joe and I talk about this quite often. Is like it never goes away. It's always there, but I just have better ways of dealing with it. And I have structures in place and strategies in place to ensure the fact that not ensure, but hopefully don't fall back down into that deep dark hole.
Yeah, and something I didn't mention is obviously medication as well. I am on medication. I've done therapy in the past. I currently don't have a therapist, which isn't ideal. But those are two really important aspects too that I think really help people and have definitely helped me get to a better place.
100%. One thing I saw in the link tree in your Instagram was ketamine therapy,
Yes.
which I feel like is pretty new to the world of medicine or medication when it comes to mental health issues. Yeah. Have you tried it?
Yeah. So I've been documenting my ketamine therapy journey on TikTok. I kind of hit a bit of a dark spot about maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. And at that time, my fiance had already mentioned ketamine therapy as an option. We have a friend of ours that has a company that does ketamine therapy, and he's like, this is accessible, this is an option, I think you should try it. And that was finally my breaking point to whereas I was like, I need to do something different because all the things that I had already put into place weren't working. And essentially what had happened, it was more of a situational depression. I had a contract with a company that I was working with regularly, and I unfortunately was let go from that contract because I wasn't bringing enough engagement on those posts, which is just a harsh reality of the influencer world and of being a makeup artist as well. And it really pulled me down pretty badly because suddenly I had this regular income coming in and I no longer was going to have that income. So it really impacted me pretty detrimentally. And that's when we decided to do the ketamine therapy treatments. And I can say without a doubt that it has transformed my life incredibly so. I think that I was managing with my depression. We were trying different medications and things like that. And I was to a point that it was sustainable, it was manageable, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. And ketamine therapy really has brought a new quality of life that I didn't think was possible.
So I have a question for both of you. When, with depression, if something negative happens, that spikes it. If all things are going well, whatever you want to define as well, what is the feeling like? Like say you have like a great, like you have the dream job, like you obviously you're engaged, and like say everything on the outside is going well. What does it feel like inside? Like why, just as someone who doesn't understand it, like what is it?
I think that, some people deal with, there's different types of depression. So I definitely have a very clinical depression where I constantly have it. But it gets better and it becomes manageable. But when it gets bad, there's a heaviness. It feels like there's a weight on my chest.
So that's what I'm kind of getting at. So
yeah, everything
at
feels,
all times, it just feels like a cloud is somewhere.
Yeah, there's like a cloud overhead. Nothing's enjoyable anymore. So imagine your favorite foods. Those don't bring you joy anymore. Going on walks with your dogs, that might be a favorite thing you love to do. You can't get out of bed. You isolate because you don't want to talk to other people about feeling bad because you feel like a burden. And meanwhile, your brain is telling you terrible things about yourself.
Nasty things.
Yeah.
So that's another thing I wanted to ask, like, and I don't want to like misspeak, but so like your brain just tells you like you're not good at this or you're not good enough for that.
Yeah, absolutely. It tells you that people don't care about you, that your life is worthless, that your career is worthless, that you're not accomplishing enough, you're not doing enough, that, it might give you kind of like body image kind of things, if it depends on the person, obviously, but your brain very much, it's like your brain is trying to unalive you. And that seems to be the main goal with my depression. It's like, I would like you to not be here anymore. And it's very debilitating.
It is.
Wow.
I wholeheartedly agree. I akin it always to that there's always a cloud there. It just depends on how grey it is and how heavy it feels and how much it feels like it's raining down on me. And to your point earlier, like there are certain situations that like, so I went to Australia for 3 months. We got engaged, went to Australia for 3 months. We came back. And then I couldn't work because I'm going through the visa process, right?
Yeah.
And I was working so much as a model and I'd always placed a lot of my worth in that. And then as someone who has had depression my entire life and anxiety, I'd kept it at bay for a long time. And then when that happened, when I was sitting at home and had no work to do, I had no income, I had no money, and it was that situational depression where I barely got out of bed. Like I felt so, and Joe would come home and he was like, "What's wrong?" I was like, "I can't explain to you this feeling because if you've never gone through it before and you don't have that pre-existing level of depression or anxiety, then it's very difficult to be able to explain." To your point earlier as well, you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to have to try to explain it because you don't want someone to feel anything what you're feeling. But it's like I said, I have certain things that manage it and that help control it, but that's not always possible. There's some moments where it's just so completely overwhelming to the point where you become numb. Like everything is numb. Nothing brings you joy. Like Sarah said, the most delicious food. Deli, our dog, even her, like little tiny pockets of joy, but like couldn't pull me out of it. And so it is incredibly debilitating when you're in the thick of it.
Absolutely.
What advice would you give to someone who is perhaps struggling with their mental health but is afraid to seek help?
I think that seeking help is just so key and so important when you're dealing with your mental health because it is so isolating and it does feel like you are alone in it. But I think that if you're struggling with reaching out to somebody and getting the help that you need, I always think of this analogy that I read in a book at one point, and it was talking about the military and how one person on a military team couldn't accomplish some of these really difficult tasks that they're put out to do. But as a team, they can accomplish these things and they can do so much. And that's for anything in society and in the world. And I'm probably not explaining the analogy as well as I read it. But I think that it's so important to remember that we are human beings that need interaction and we need companionship, and it's okay that we need help sometimes. And I think that the sooner we embrace that and we understand that it can really open us up to a lot more peace and understanding around our mental health as well. I think that, we have social media, which is really isolating. A lot of people are working from home. They may not be in a relationship. A lot of people their family is on different coasts, or like even in my case, my mom, my dad are passed away. So depression can isolate you so deeply and make you feel so alone. And so to really like push outside of your shell and seek help, it seems like the hardest thing to do, but it is the best thing that you can do. And really, I can only offer that advice, that seeking a helping hand when you're struggling is one of the few things that can really help you manage your depression and mental health and help you get to a better place.
I'm in awe of you're so well spoken. I think the things that you say are just like hitting me right in my heart. And I'm sure there's so many other people out there who are going to listen to this and say the exact same thing.
Oh, thank you.
I want to talk about your engagement because it was incredibly recent, right?
Yes, it was. It was in March.
All right. I want to know Joe's absolute favorite part. Do you want to ask it?
Yeah.
Okay, go.
The meet cute.
The meet cute.
Yeah.
Well, we actually met on another dating
No,
app.
so did we.
I was going to say, I'm going to ask if you had kind of gone on dating apps before, so tell us.
So we met on Tinder.
Oh.
When I used to do a lot of weddings and things like that, the brides and the bridesmaids often met on Tinder, and I was stunned. I couldn't understand that this dating app that's meant for hookups, that people were actually meeting somebody. So when I became single, I signed up, and I equate it to like going to the thrift store. There's gems out there, but you really have to search them out. Like there was a lot of swiping happening, but I came across my now fiance's profile, and he had the biggest smile. And normally like pictures with other people would kind of drive me crazy, but it was like my fiance was the main character in all of these photos. There was no doubt.
All group pictures.
They weren't all group pictures, but there was a few of them. And you could just tell he had that main character energy. And I was like, this guy looks like a lot of fun. Like he really does. I had just moved to LA. I didn't know a lot of people. I was really relying on dating apps to like get to know the city. That's how I fed myself many days. I'm not going to lie. Men will hate that. But, I just was like, this guy looks like a lot of fun. And so I sent him a message and I said, you look like a bucket of fun.
What a great opening line.
And,
bucket of fun.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
A bucket of fun. And so that's what I said. And he responded back. And we went back and forth for a few weeks because we were both traveling a lot at the time for work. And finally, he proposed a place that he said was in the middle of where we both lived. Now, being in LA for a few years, I do know that it was more favored to his side of town.
Of course.
And that was it. I actually, funny fact about that night as well, I had gone to Backstreet Boys a few nights before. I was screaming so hard that I lost my voice. So I cruised into this date with almost no voice. So my fiance literally spoke the entire time. He just was like going on about everything about himself. And I was just sitting there nodding, and just every once in a while, like a very wheezy, like, oh, that's cool. And that was our first date, but I was enamored pretty much from the get-go.
Smitten from the start.
The second that you guys the second you saw him, you felt like, oh, this is going to be something.
He had great energy. He just had the biggest smile on his face, and he was also very kind and like accommodating and polite, but I just knew there was something different there.
Where did you guys go?
We went to Hatchet Hall in I think it's like it's on the west side.
Okay.
Which I lived in like mid-city Koreatown, and he lived in Marina Del Rey, so it was definitely way closer to him. It was definitely
more curated to him.
Yeah.
Our first date was 1 block away from where we lived, and it was
where he lived.
From where I lived, and then Hannah had to go from Sherman Oaks into West Hollywood.
Oh.
But I will say this, I was a vegan at that point, and he found a vegan restaurant.
I didn't even know what a vegan was.
No, he
so
didn't.
I Googled best vegan restaurant in Los Angeles, and Gracias Madre popped up.
I was about to say it.
And I was like, okay, normally I would go to her, but I don't know. I don't want to take this chance. I was like, why don't we go to Gracias Madre? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, okay.
Just by happenstance, it happened to be a block away from your apartment. But you know what? It worked out well. But then he drove me home like a gentleman.
Oh, that's
so that
very
was always
nice.
very sweet.
That's great.
Okay, so wait, so you just recently got engaged.
Yes.
How did he do it?
So we were actually in Korea. And I had no idea. I had talked to a mutual friend of ours a couple years ago about some ideas of like a ring if we ever got engaged. And it was because we were at the jeweler and we were picking up her engagement ring that had been repaired. And she's like, just curious, if you ever were to get engaged, like what would you want?
So sneaky.
So this was a couple years ago. So Ki-moon and I had spoken several times, about getting engaged and that possibility. And he had brushed it off and just was very much like, you are working on yourself right now. You've got a lot on your plate. I've got a lot on my plate. It's not the right time. So I had just kind of buried the hope that we were getting engaged, to be honest. It had been 4.5 years at that point. So we were in Korea last year in October and we went back in March. And so this trip, he was like, oh, our mutual friend is going to be coming with us on the trip. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Like she's doing this hurrah with us. That's awesome. And so I didn't think anything of it. And one day we were walking around this park. It's freezing cold, looking for cherry blossom trees. And I thought we were looking for these cherry blossom trees for our friend that had come on the trip with us. She had insisted that I wear a dress that day. And she was like, you have to dress up. We're going to take photos in front of the cherry blossoms. I was like, it is so freezing cold outside. Absolutely not. I'm not wearing a dress. So I didn't wear a dress. We're walking around this park looking for cherry blossoms. The cherry blossoms hadn't bloomed yet. And we end up leaving the park. I have no clue what's going on. Well, that's where my fiance was supposed to propose. And that's why they were so insistent on trying to find these cherry blossom trees. So the next day we went to a cafe. And it's this beautiful cafe with a waterfall behind it. And we walk down there and our friend takes my jacket. She's like, oh, I'm going to take a photo of you guys. And so we get up there and we're like, I'm freezing, of course, as I was the entire trip. And so I put my arm around him and then he's like, oh, I have to tie my shoe. So I look down, I look at his shoes and there's a video of the moment as well. And you could see the confusion on my face because I'm looking at his shoes and they're tied. So I'm just annoyed at this point. I'm like, I want to get this photo over. I want my jacket back. What is going on? And that's when I saw him reach into his vest and pull out the box, which it was like a clunky, huge box. So he was hiding that on him the day before and that day, which I have no idea how he got away with because I'm a pretty touchy-feely person. I feel like I'm always like hugging him or
he's probably like shifting to the side every single time you put
it. He was probably like, this woman needs to stop touching me. She's going to figure this out. But yeah, so then he proposed there and I was completely stunned. Our friend was there. She was taking videos and photos. And so I got to like have documentation of the moment, I guess. But I was wearing just like plain white jeans and like my favorite cardigan and tennis shoes. And I still had my purse on. And it definitely wasn't like this picture perfect moment, but it was so special because he definitely took me by surprise.
Well, you posed this. Well, first and foremost, it's so beautiful, and like I saw that video, and I literally shed a couple of tears because your face, literally, you were like a little bit like this, and then all of a sudden you were just like, and it's the sheer emotion that comes through that video is so beautiful. Yeah. But you actually posed this question. I don't know if it was underneath the caption. Mm-hmm. And you said, would you rather be completely surprised by an engagement or have a sneaking suspicion? So what's your answer?
I definitely would. I would rather be surprised any day. I think the shock and the joy of that moment and realizing that it was happening, I wouldn't replace that for the world. And honestly, like not knowing what the ring looked like. And I remember we were getting in the Uber after everything had happened and they're like, we're going to go find somewhere with champagne. I'm like, I think it's like a Tuesday at like 11 a.m. I'm like, we're in Korea. I don't know if we're going to find this. We might find some like soju, but I don't know if we're going to find champagne. And I just remember looking down at my hand and my ring and I was just I was absolutely stunned. And I remember I wore my ring to bed for like the next week because I would wake up in the morning, I'd be like, oh, it didn't happen. And I look at my hand, I'm like, oh my God, it's still there.
I feel like we've lost that in today's world. Like the surprise of the engagement. And I love the surprise of engagement. And I just feel like some people want to know so that they can be prepared for the picture and like the Instagram. Yeah. And man, I wish everybody would be surprised because just seeing
Yeah.
that reaction is so amazing. Like
Yeah.
your life is going to change for the better. Like
Yeah.
it's so cool.
He
Yeah.
proposed to me. I was wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I thought we was going out for dinner.
Yeah.
And like I knew that he was going to
Now
propose
you
at some.
knew. You kept
I-
asking
I
me that
knew-
day.
Yeah, I literally kept asking him. But like I had a sneaky suspicion that was happening at some point, right, within that week. But I didn't know when. And he didn't say like get dressed up. He didn't say do your nails or anything like that. I just got jeans and a t-shirt on, and he was like, "Oh, we're gonna go watch the sunset." And I was like, "Oh yeah, it'd be beautiful." So we drove into New York City, and he took me to his old apartment building that he used to live in the Village, and he took me up the top. And it was like just twilight, just the sun was setting, and he turned around, he's on one knee, and he asked me to marry him. I can't even remember exactly what you said, but it was so beautiful.
I said, "Do you remember when you asked me when 10 minutes ago?" I said, "Now."
Now, and then said all those
amazing.
beautiful, sweet things. All right, my babe, we'll go into the game.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So this is. I'm not even gonna read this.
No, read it.
Okay. We play this game called How Well Do You Know Yourself?
Okay.
So you post these beautiful daily reminders to your social community. So I wanted to pull a little spin on today's HWDK.
How well do you know yourself?
Oh, I was like, what is
You're
this?
like, what is acronym?
HWDYKYS's, and see if you can finish these daily reminders that you've posted.
Okay.
Okay. So, number 1, daily reminder. Today, give yourself permission to prioritize self-care. Remember, you can't ...
Remember, you can't. It's can't?
Did you mean to put can?
Mm. No.
No, you can't. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll read it again. Today, give yourself permission to prioritize self-care.
Mhm.
Remember, you can't. I actually like this a lot.
You can't. I have no idea.
It's meant to be hard, don't worry.
This is a old one. I don't know.
Pour from an empty cup.
Oh, yes.
Also, this is so funny. I feel like, you know how when Joe Biden reads like pause? I feel like I'm reading answer. DR HWDYKYS. Sorry.
Some of these daily reminders are really old.
No, they are. Like I was
Okay.
going through them. I was going back
Number
to the
2.
deep depths.
You are absolutely enough just as you are. Your quirks, imperfections, and unique qualities are ...
What makes you you?
Close. What makes you shine? Embrace your authenticity and let it light up the world.
That was a
Okay.
good
I
one.
feel like
Third
I'll give you that one. I feel like that was very much in the same vein.
Compliment yourself like you would ...
Like you would a friend.
Yes. You deserve your own kindness and love.
I love that one.
Let's redefine success. It's not about accomplishments. It's about ...
It's about your experience.
It's about the love you share, the connections you make, and the positive impact you leave. These are so deep.
Aren't they? They're so beautiful.
I'm like, how am I not? I think I'm really nervous.
It's a game. A lot of people get nervous. Very few
But
people
also,
get
I
any of
feel
this
like,
right, too.
yeah, but I feel like people, I don't know your social media. Are you active on social media?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm much more active on TikTok at the moment than I am on Instagram. I flip-flop.
Yeah, I feel like when we do this with active people, you have so many pieces of content that they just forget. They're like, I don't remember what
It's
I said.
true, yeah.
Today, challenge yourself to replace I have to with ...
I can.
I get to.
I get to.
It's a small shift, but it can transform your perspective and invite gratitude.
Yeah.
Man, we could just clip me saying all those things, and I have motivational clips forever.
Joe is really one of those people that just like adores listening to motivational clips. I think like you're very much that type of person who you love to ingest really positive things so you can keep on that positive track.
Yeah.
And so I knew that he was going to love those.
Those are
Yeah.
awesome. We're going to do rapid fire?
We're going to do rapid fire.
All right, rapid fire. These are short, quick answers.
Okay.
One thing on your bucket list.
Well, I think just to have an incredible wedding. I'm very excited about that.
That's definitely going to happen. Biggest risk you've ever taken?
Freelance career, working freelance, I think is one of the most difficult things that any person in the work field can do. And I think that being a freelance artist for 13 years has continually been a risk.
Love it. What's your love language?
All of them. I have ADHD, so I think that my love languages continually change depending on what kind of dopamine hit I need at the moment. But I love all of them. I've honestly done so many quizzes and read so much on love languages trying to figure out what mine are. No clue. I think they're all of them. Probably like physical physical attention.
Okay.
Like I was like trying to put my feet on my fiance and he's like They're hot. Get off of me. So.
Best compliment you've ever received?
Best compliment. I think anytime anybody compliments my eyes, I just really appreciate that. I have my dad's eyes, and it's really special.
Love that. What never fails to make you laugh?
My fiance.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
That's the best.
He's absolutely the funniest person I've ever met. Everybody loves him. He's always the life of the party. He absolutely never fails to just make me laugh every single day.
Oh, that's sweet. Guilty pleasure?
Ice cream. And at the moment, it's the Jenny's Lemon Bar vegan ice cream.
Yum.
It is so delicious. Ever since I stopped eating dairy years and years ago, I had not had a lemon bar, and they put it in an ice cream, if you can imagine. It's so good.
I can't imagine it, but I'm going to buy it on the way home.
Yeah, Sprouts.
Last one. Something you wish you were better at dealing with?
Oh, gosh. I think communication. I think that because of my depression and my need to kind of keep into myself sometimes, I think that I can be really bad about communication. So I think that's always something I want to work on.
I love that.
Sarah, thank you so much for being here today, for taking the
thank
time.
you.
I'm sure is an incredibly busy schedule, but also just to be as the reflection of your social media, so open and honest and vulnerable with us today. Can you let our listeners know where they can find you?
So on Instagram, it's Beauty by Sarah, and that's Sarah, Sarah. And then on TikTok, don't hate me for this one, but it's Sarah Redzikowski.
We'll spell it out.
We'll put it in the show notes so everybody knows how to spell it.
I'm currently more active on TikTok. I've been sharing a lot of my mental health journey there. I think the long form content is just much better for me at the moment because I can just talk for 8-9 minutes and people watch for some reason, but
not for some reason.
Yeah,
because you connect with the heart and soul, I think, of a lot of people.
Thank you. But those are the two places, and yeah.
Also, check out our website. It's pretty amazing. I was looking at it as I was doing research, and I was like, oh my God, the amount of beautiful
and all the
work that
makeup
you've done.
corporations out there, if you're looking for someone special to change your company, we got the person
She's the
right
woman.
here.
I would love to. I'd be honored.
And thank you for listening. Check out one of our past episodes. Link in show notes to the app. You'll see all Sarah's links in the app. We appreciate you. Subscribe. Happy dating. We'll see you next time.